What's up, guys? This is Kyle from Wax Museum, and there seems to be a trend on social media reemerging right now where people are destroying Panini Relic cards to see what's inside, mainly football. And I say it's a trend. I don't think that many people are actually doing it, but the videos are getting a little bit of traction. So when I first saw that, or I should say when I saw it again, my response was simply, you could have just used a flashlight and kept the card intact. At the same time, I'll show here in a moment, the results with the flashlight can be pretty hard to read. And if you're wondering why a flashlight might help in the first place, or you need a refresher, when Panini cuts a jersey up, they adhere a label on the back of each piece. Traditionally, this label has the player's name, a 6-digit number that's supposed to be unique to that specific uniform, and then oftentimes I've seen them include the color of the material as well. So I've got a couple of Steven Adams cards here. I don't make a regular practice of tearing jersey cards up. This one I did a couple years ago, maybe even a few years ago, because it was damaged on the back, and I kind of wanted to test a theory before I went into all that Kawhi final stuff. So this one, I was able to take the piece out. You've seen them doing this with the football stuff. In this case, it is the correct player, though, because that's what we found with the basketball game worn stuff. So it says Steven Adams. This one doesn't appear to have it doesn't say gray or whatever you want to call that, blue, but it does have the 6-digit number that goes with that. And I was kind of curious. I had another, somehow I just kept pulling these Steven Adams cards. This one's red. I wanted to see if it had the same thing. I didn't want to tear this one up, though. It's not damaged. So I actually just took a flashlight, and I'll try not to blind or shine this right into the camera here. But what you do is you don't want to shine it through the back. That's a mistake that I've seen people make. You want to shine it through the relic side. I found that gets better results. Now, it still kind of depends on the back of the card, how thick the card is. It doesn't always work. But so I'm going to take this light and put it here. And it is hard to see. It's easier to see if I had all the lights out. So maybe I'll have to post a picture later on. But this one says Steven Adams red, and it has a 6-digit number. Now, you can't see, like I said, you can't see it very well. I had to have all these lights on for the recording, so you can't have all of that at once. So anyway, you'll just have to trust me on that, or try it out on your own. I've got some others here that I'll try in a moment. Hopefully those will show up a little bit better. But so you might expect that these card reveals are getting people a little bit worked up, and that's fine. That's probably rightfully so. I think it can help to bring about productive conversation, provided people are willing to look at all sides. And it probably would help if the people that are doing this, especially the ones that are making reels out of it, would then use their platform to give viewers additional context. Otherwise, they're destroying a card to show that it's non-associated, just like it says. So like I had this Amin Thompson card here. If you look at the back of it, this is what a lot of the football ones are saying, or something very similar to this. The enclosed officially licensed material is not associated with any specific player, game, or event. And then they would tear these up and it's a different player, and they're shocked. They're literally telling us that this is non-associated. So I'm not going to tear this up and figure that out. Now, and once again, it's kind of hard to see because of all the lights that I have on, but when I have the lights off, I have the flashlight, and I'm shining it through here. I looked at it earlier, and it said, just Rockets. It said like Rockets Red or something like that. And then it had that 6-digit number. So it didn't even have a player name at this point. And I figured that's probably the direction they go from here on out, because they're just putting stuff in different team cards. Now, I'll have more on that in a little bit. A more alarming example I'll show in a little bit. So anyway, I say this trend is reemerging because it's something we've seen before. The last notable example I remember was January of 2023. I addressed that on the podcast, but somebody ripped open a relic card from Absolute Football only to discover that the back of the piece was labeled with a different player's name. And a lot of these reveals are from football products because that's where we get a lot more non-associated stuff. And I won't go too far into it again. I've explained it many times before, but most non-flawless basketball rookies after 2019 are non-associated. But most of the veteran stuff is still labeled game worn, aside from national pack stuff, promo stuff, retro stuff, things like that. So one unfortunate side effect to all this, relic destruction here is that, once again, we've got a lot of people weighing in that, for the most part, don't even collect relics. And based on what they're saying, it seems like they might not be looking into any of the other clues either. Yet they're telling everyone how much of a scam they think these relics are. And don't get me wrong, I know manufacturers have messed stuff up before, and I know the wording is probably left a little vague on purpose. I don't know, let's look at this one. Well, this one, okay, so when I say it was a little vague, it does tell us here that the enclosed game-worn used material, which was used as a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder, is guaranteed by Panini America. Now, technically, no, it doesn't say that was used by Steven Adams. But, we know that Steven Adams was on the Thunder, and then now he's, in this card. Would they take an old relic from the same player and put it in a new card of that player? Or why wouldn't they just get a Grizzlies one and put it in there if that were the case? So there are some context clues, even though they've left it kind of vague here, that make us believe, okay, yeah, this was actually worn by Steven Adams. And I know people take exception to that or have, don't believe that, and that's fine. I know manufacturers have messed stuff up before, but when it comes to basketball cards that are labeled as game worn, there's a lot of context out there that tells us they're probably game worn. For example, and I don't have this specific card in front of me here, but there is a Court Kings Al Horford relic from 2016 that says it's from a certain date. It's a game dated card. And a lot of people just trust that. Okay, and I put myself in that camp. It's not this exact same set here, but it's one from a different year. It's this performance art set. They're game dated relics supposedly. So people trust that. But then also later on, the laundry tag from that same jersey showed up in another card, i.e., this one right here. And you can see that they put round 1, game 1, and 2, and then there's some more stuff on there. But I was able to use that to match it up to a tag from an old listing on NBA auctions, and then it explains it was used in something like 4 different playoff games, like they had photo matched it. So, that one obviously I feel really good about, and I would feel really good about those Court Kings Al Horford relic cards. So that's a really strong example. Another one I have here, and I already kind of showed this set. This is a performance art Court Kings card. It says June 8th, 2014 on the front. It just tells us the enclosed game-worn material, which was worn June 8th, 2014, is guaranteed. Now, they didn't technically say that Boris Diaw was wearing this material, and I don't think actually, yeah, I can kind of see it on here. A little bit better than some of that other red stuff, but I see white, and I see Boris. Now, unfortunately, I can't see through this patch piece here. You kind of have to do it just through the thin parts, but I see white and I see Boris. So that tells me that that's a piece that's labeled Boris Diaw, and they're saying it was used on this specific date. I also happen to have this booklet here that's supposed to be from Game 2, which was that same date. So these, in theory, are from the same jersey, and I've got to be very careful with this one here. Normally, I don't even take this card out, so I'm going to shine through, and it's harder to see on these. These are a little bit thicker. When I looked at it earlier, it wasn't super clear, just because of how thick the card is, but, I could kind of make out the shadows of that same labeling. So I feel pretty good about those. Did I see Boris Diaw take that jersey off and give it to the NBA or give it to a Panini rep? No, technically I did not. But you just have to consider the context here and some of the things that we've seen. So now another example where context matters, and I've seen people say, they don't think Panini would pay for a real LeBron James game-worn jersey just to cut it up. And I guess the theory is, as long as it's worn in a game by another player, the wording technically still allows them to put it in a LeBron card and label it as game-worn. So I have this one that I got recently. It's another, supposedly a game-dated card, right? This is that November 28th, 2022 game against the Pacers. And if you look at the wording, I'll try to get it in focus here. Says the enclosed game-worn used material, which was worn used November 28th, 2022, is guaranteed by Panini America. So they don't technically say that LeBron wore it. So I can't, sorry, let me try that again. And it's hard to see it once again on camera. I wish it could show a little better. I might have to do some pictures later on. When I looked at this, I believe it said either Los Angeles yellow or gold or Lakers gold. So the labeling didn't say LeBron James anymore. Now that is a little concerning to me. I just think that they've kind of switched the way that they label things, but we've got to look at the context once again, because then you'll look in other products that have full game-worn letters from LeBron James. They're like nameplate pieces. And there were 21 guys that suited up on the Lakers last season, and I could go back the season before that. But at least last season, out of 21 guys, only one of them had a J in his last name. And obviously that's LeBron James. So all I'm saying is, I think it's time for the collecting community to have a little more nuanced of a conversation about relic cards. There's a lot of information out there. Some of it we've got online, some of it we've figured out on our own. Some of it we've learned from talking with people that work at these companies. We just have to weigh all that information. And I'm not going to sit here and use this Al Horford example that I really liked to say that every relic card checks out. I'm not going to use that as proof for every single card. That's not responsible at all. But I also don't think people should use a couple of non-associated examples to disprove everything either, especially when they're using rookie cards or football cards where it's clearly labeled on the back, hey, this is non-associated. So all I want to say is I think we should have a more nuanced conversation. I hope this video helps move that conversation forward. So if this has helped you in any way today, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Remember, there are new episodes of the audio podcast that come out every Thursday. And as always, thanks for watching.